war in the Gulf started with dramatic disruptions to international travel. While some of that airspace has reopened, the chaos caused by the fuel crisis continues. In Australia, the nation's two major airline groups are warning of reduced services and higher prices. So how bad could things get?
It's not a pretty industry at the moment, particularly for those carriers based in the Middle East who are having to deal with multiple issues on multiple fronts.
Justin Brown-John oversees an aviation training academy in Victoria. This hangar in Bendigo is home to a fleet used to train tomorrow's pilots.
The fuel oil supply pipelines at the moment, they're just being heavily disrupted, which is creating large fuel price variations at the moment.
Australia imports 80% of its jet fuel. The journey begins in the Middle East, where crude oil is extracted and then shipped to Asia for refining in countries like China, South Korea and Singapore. From there, it's sold to Australia. With blockades in the Strait of Hormuz choking supply, the price of the main type of jet fuel, Jet A1, is skyrocketing.
So it's around 150% increase that we've seen over the last couple of months since the issues in the Middle East started.
Worldwide, airlines are cutting thousands of flights.
In Europe, we have maybe 6 weeks or so jet fuel left.
Lufthansa is grounding 20,000 short-haul flights.
United Airlines says it will be cutting flights because of surging fuel prices.
In Australia, Qantas and Virgin say they have enough fuel to maintain regular travel for at least the next 6 weeks. If the Strait hasn't reopened by June, the picture looks a lot more uncertain. In the meantime, they too are making cuts. 7 routes across the country have been cut for now, with both major airline groups confirming plans to reduce services on the busiest routes between Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, impacting tens of thousands of customers.
I fly mostly between Canberra and Sydney, and also Canberra-Melbourne and Canberra-Brisbane. 6 to 8 of those return flights are to attend conferences and seminars, face-to-face.
Jocelyn Carter is a naturopath based outside Canberra and needs to fly regularly for her work and training.
If I don't do 20 to 30 hours of ongoing professional development every year, then my professional organisations will no longer accredit me and I will lose my registration.
But she's not just travelling for business, also pleasure. She's been planning a winter escape to Thailand, a country she's visited more than a dozen times. But now she's worried about getting stuck overseas.
There's a lot of uncertainty and I'm kind of, do I book, do I don't book? And I've been in this sort of two minds probably for a few weeks now. And it's very hard to get clarity on what the future will hold for people like me who fly a lot.
The last time there was this level of uncertainty for Australian customers was during the COVID pandemic, when there was a lot of attention placed on the airlines and their cancellation policies. I'm about to meet Andy Kelly from consumer rights group Choice, who advocates for customers on this specific issue. G'day. Hey, how are you, Andy? I'm Myles.
How are you?
How's your trip?
Yeah, not too bad.
That's good, that's good. So Andy, what protections do consumers have if a flight is cancelled?
So depending on the situation, when an airline cancels a flight, you're generally entitled to a refund, a credit. Unfortunately, there's nothing really to stop airlines giving you the runaround when you actually try to access that remedy.
The government's spoken about having an independent aviation ombudsman, as well as specific legislation around consumer rights here. Are they not in effect yet?
So unfortunately, nothing's really changed since COVID in terms of the legal framework that exists. So consumers, if you have a problem with the airline and you're not having that complaint heard fairly by the airline, there's nowhere really to go. The good news is that, a lot of these protections are now before Parliament. So, if that passes through Parliament, we'll see some changes coming, hopefully before the end of the year.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Catherine King said the government had set up an interim ombudsman that was escalating complaints for action where appropriate. On the interim body's website, it says it has a limited set of functions and no formal investigative or resolution powers.
Bottom line, what's the advice for people who've already booked or are intending to travel in the next couple of weeks and months?
I think you should consider, whether now is a good time to travel, because there's an increased risk that your flight will get cancelled or delayed significantly. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're doing any international travel, travel insurance is essential, but important to know that most travel insurance doesn't cover acts of war.
Even with an ideal scenario, the strait reopens and oil once again flows, the hip pocket pain will take time to resolve.
The downside to this is when and if fuel price does moderate, I think we are going to see a bit of a tail. There will be an element of prices of fares not decreasing at the same price as the fuel price does.